good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Thank you for downloading the Faith Life Podcast. I'm your host, Pastor Nathan, here with my co-host, Pastor Matt.
Hey, guys.
Matt, have you had a good Christmas so far?
I mean, Christmas is over, man.
No, it's not.
Actually, today's the second day of Christmas,
Today's
right?
the second day of Christmas. So we were recording this the day after Christmas.
Yep.
But yes, the 12 days of Christmas start on Christmas.
Right.
They don't culminate in Christmas.
Yeah.
So
A lot of
leave
people
your tree
don't know
up,
that.
leave your lights up.
Yeah.
This is the Christmas time to party.
This is the Christmas time to party.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
It's like Easter. It's like, why Easter should be a longer celebration because of how monumental it is. We should celebrate for like a week, the resurrection.
Right. Now, here's the interesting thing, because we've talked about this in the past.
All right, let's hear it.
Specifically as it relates to Christmas music about Jesus, not like, just walking in a winter wonderland type stuff.
Yes.
So that's a great song.
Yeah.
Why do we limit the Christmas music? Because we sing about Jesus' resurrection throughout the year. Like there are worship songs that are on regular rotation on the radio on Sunday mornings that reference Jesus' resurrection. But if it references his birth, we limit that to December. All that to say, celebrate Jesus year round.
Well,
life, death, resurrection, all of it.
This is an interesting thing, Matt. Like when we start getting ready for Christmas, it's like the Christmas season. We like decorate way in advance. We put up lights. We're singing songs. We're preparing and thinking about Christmas. But we don't do that for Easter. We don't have the Easter season. Let's start getting our Easter decorations. Let's start singing songs about the resurrection. Let's start getting in the mood for Easter. Why not?
Which it's interesting because doesn't our entire faith hinge on the reality of the resurrection?
Correct.
So why wouldn't that be?
Why doesn't that take
a bigger deal?
Precedent.
I mean, people put pastel colors up for like a month around Easter time.
It's because I would say that Easter is, this is kind of weird. Easter is much more religiously specific. Like, yes, Christmas is about the birth of Jesus, but for most people, it's not. For most people, it's about Santa and the reindeer and elves and dwarves, and maybe not dwarves. But it's about, and yes, they tried a little bit with that whole Easter bunny thing.
Yes.
So there's still
that whole Easter bunny thing.
But for the most part, Easter is about Jesus. And unfortunately, Christmas is not just about Jesus.
Right. Well, I think you just answered it.
What was that?
I think you just answered your question.
So that's the answer. Yeah. Now, do you think we should just split into separate holidays? Like make December since December 25th, we know that's not even when Jesus was probably was not born.
We're like 99% certain.
Well, maybe. I mean, here's the thing. Since we don't know when he was born, we don't know that it wasn't the 25th,
Fair.
right? But yes.
So there's a 1 in 365 chance that it was that day.
Sure.
But can't we use things like the position of the star versus where Bethlehem is and all that type of stuff to actually scientifically
we don't know
or like what the weather might be?
We don't know.
We don't know anything.
We don't know anything.
We're just like
Wouldn't
dumb.
it make more sense?
Is this like the post-Christmas fog? We just know nothing now.
Okay, so most of the important things with Jesus occurred around the different Jewish feasts. So wouldn't it made sense? It would have made more sense if it was around like the Feast of Tabernacles. Right? Because he was God who tabernacled among us and all that. Anyway, well, our producer in the room says the shepherds out in the field, not like in the wintertime. Here's the thing. What's it like right now in Israel? What's the temperature? Was winter in Israel the same? Because winter doesn't mean winter everywhere, right? Winter time in Israel might not be the same as our winter time. That's it's winter in Australia right now, but it's hot, it's warm. So,
isn't it summer in Australia right now? I mean, it's literally their summer season.
Their summer season, yes, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
right. So this time of year in Israel, what is it like? I don't know, but
I mean, in Tel Aviv right now it's 63 degrees. That's its high for the day.
So that's not bad.
Goes down to low 50s. It looks like. Wait, Jeremiah says it's 35. What calendar are you looking at?
I don't know. Oh, all right. So here's what I'm saying. If December 25th has been mostly consumed by the celebration of giving gifts and Santa and trees and all of that stuff.
Right.
Why don't we just rename it like Gift Day or some come up with a new name and then celebrate Christmas, pick another one like around September or whenever, and have a separate holiday where we as the church say we're going to only celebrate the birth of Jesus now.
So there is a theory that September 11th, 3 BC was when Jesus was born. So based on the theory that a constellation was visible in Bethlehem on that evening. There's another theory, October 20th, 6 BC, based on the theory that the star that led the wise men to Bethlehem was a comet. Or November 18th, based on the oldest written records, would say Jesus was born 194 years, 1 month, 13 days before the death of Commodus.
Wow. Now, we've talked about this. I know this
Or there's all the spring dating that people have.
I know that we've talked about this a lot in our last year. We didn't really spend much time on it this year, but I think it's interesting. People tend to go with the idea that the 25th was chosen to compete with pagan festivals,
right?
Which it actually, the more we've researched it, does not seem to be the case. Because like they're like, well, it's like the solstice, which was the 22nd. Why would that would be the date they would pick if they're trying to replace the pagan solstice holiday 3 days earlier? And actually, what we find from history is that way back then, early church times, there was this belief, not necessarily true. In fact, I can say it's not true. But there was a belief that the day you die is the same date as the day you are conceived. And that was just what they thought. Like, hey, there's a weird thing where you die on the day you were conceived. And so they said Jesus died on March 25th, and they counted forward 9 months, got December 25th, and that's when they started celebrating the birth. So it has nothing to do with pagans. So if you're one of those people who only live on TikTok and see Christmas as pagan, I'm sorry.
Who only live on TikTok.
That's just silly. Well, that's true.
I deleted TikTok from my phone like a month ago. It's been great. No
Why?
TikTok, no Instagram. I still have Facebook because I'm selling things on Marketplace. So I use it for the Marketplace part.
I still enjoy the good old tickety talk.
A tick-tock, a ticky to the tick.
Well,
to the tick-tock.
Let's dive in, Matt. Today we are having we're going to talk about if there's any news that you want to talk about. But then our main focus and our point today is we're going to kind of look back over this year, think about the big things that happened, maybe both here on the show, out in the world, as we kind of summarize and come to a close with 2024. Before we come back next year, 2025, ready to rock, ready to roll, and all the crazy things in between. So, Matt, did anything in the news happen that jumped out at you today?
That happened today?
Like no. Like in the news, in the news that you want to talk about today.
Well, I was talking with our producer prior to you getting here this morning about the sports that happened yesterday. But
Netflix football?
Yeah, Netflix. He knew. So he and I were talking. We're like, it's a good thing we're talking about this now, because if you brought it up on the podcast, Nathan would have no idea what you're talking about.
I know that Netflix had football.
Because it's Netflix.
Because
and
it's
you're
Netflix.
Like, why is this ad for football on my Netflix feed?
No, I know that. When we had talked recently about the Mike Tyson fight.
Right.
And how they're trying to get into live events. And I had known that football was the next big one that we're doing. Did it stream better? Did you watch it?
I watched a little bit of it, and it was a great stream.
They fixed it.
Yeah.
Well, I'd imagine after how badly the Mike Tyson fight went, they're like, all right, let's get this fixed. Although, did as many people watch it also? I don't know.
Well, so for years, the NBA has always had Christmas Day games, and that's been like a big thing for people to watch. And NFL has typically stayed away from Wednesdays and stayed away from Christmas. So this year was, let's hijack both of those. And the ratings for the NFL destroyed him. Like NBA's ratings were way, way down this year because everyone was watching NFL instead.
Was it a good game?
There were a couple games.
Oh.
And I guess it depends on if you liked the teams that were playing yesterday and the results of them or not.
But I mean, if you don't care about the teams, was it like at least good? Like, because, there can be a good football game where you don't care about the teams. It was just like, oh, some good football.
How do we do that?
Good football.
Yeah. No, they were terrible games. One of them was a complete blowout, which was
That's
like a
not
lame
fun.
one. And the other one was close to a complete blowout. And it was the Chiefs winning, and no one likes the Chiefs.
All right, I do have.
I'm sure a lot of people like the Chiefs, but no one here.
Football tangential anecdote.
A football
that just
tangential
happened.
Anecdote.
Okay, so Christmas Eve.
Wait, it just happened.
Just happened. Christmas Eve.
Oh.
All right. So we went to, we had our Christmas Eve candlelight service. And then afterwards, we went to hibachi for dinner. Okay. First of all, on a side note, I have to call out hibachi publicly right now.
Wait, so did you go to the one that's named hibachi?
Yeah.
On
Horsetooth.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Like Horsetooth and Shields.
Yep. I'm calling them out.
Calling them out right
I'm
here.
calling them out because
they have really good salad dressing.
Yeah.
And you
the
can
food
buy it
was,
by the bottle. You can take it home.
Once we sat down, the food was great.
Okay.
Okay. So we made a reservation. We had 8 people, which is a good sized group. So that's why we said, well, let's make a reservation. They said, sure. Reservation confirmed 6:00. Great. We get there at 6, maybe 6:02. I don't know. That's still fine. And the place is just packed. And we're like, holy cow, a good thing we have a reservation.
It's a good thing you made a reservation for
so
6
we walk
o'clock
up
that night.
and she says, hey. And we're like, yeah, we got a reservation. She's like, yeah, that doesn't really count. We're like, wait, what? She's like, those aren't really real. So we can take
Wait, she said that? She said those aren't really real?
Yeah, they're kind of fake. And then she said, so I can take it down your name and so what's your name again? I'm like, and how big's your party? She took all our information again. I'm like, so yeah, literally you have none of our info from this reservation we made. And everybody is in here like, oh, we have a reservation. And they, okay, whatever. And she just puts us at the bottom of the wait list. Yeah. And then it's like, and some people I heard they were complaining. We were like, I want to talk to the owner. Like, oh, they're out on an emergency. It's like, oh, or maybe they just don't want to talk to anybody.
Can I ask a very important question?
Yeah.
What does this have anything to do with football?
I'm getting there. I said that was a side note. Okay. So all this to say, we're sitting there, groups are coming, groups are going. Finally, like an hour 20 we had sat down, like nowhere else is open. Everywhere that is open is going to be busy. We don't have any food ready. We're going to wait it out. So we did. We got, ordered a Coke and sat. There's a good waiting area. So we're finally sat. We're going in, and this like one guy by himself gets sat at our table with us. And we're like, oh, that's kind of fun. He was just waiting. He sits down. We're talking to him. And turns out his name is Nate. He's a football player for CSU. He's their tight end, I want to say.
And he was there by himself?
And he was there by himself. He's like, I got to fly out to Arizona tomorrow for the big football game.
He's got the Snoop Dogg Bowl he's got to play in.
Is that what he was playing in?
Yeah, CSU's in the Snoop Bowl.
Well, that's what. So he was like, his coach or somebody, they'd all gotten to go out wherever they wanted and had their dinner covered, and he picked hibachi, but just by himself. And so we just kind of talked to him and chatted with him, and we adopted him into our little group for that night.
Okay,
and watched the hibachi chef.
And you shared Jesus with him, and he's
from Texas, so he already knows Jesus.
Wow. That escalated quickly.
He was, I didn't really talk to him as much, but my father-in-law was there, and he's like, oh yeah, your name, blah, blah, blah. I know, because he watches CSU football, so he knew who he was.
Nate Wyand?
I don't know. Probably. Is he the tight end?
He's a tight end.
Then yeah.
About 6'2", 245 pounds-ish.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Do you have a picture of him? Here,
blonde hair?
Let me see the picture of him. I'll tell you. Yeah, that was him.
All right. So, Nate, if you're listening to this, you got someone rooting for you this weekend in your big Snoop game.
Has it happened yet?
No. Nope.
Wait, why was he flying out on Christmas Day then?
Well, they got to get down there and do their practice and get the whole team there. If everyone flies out the day of the game or something, that would be a little bit weird.
I guess that's true.
Oh, there was a flight delay. We have no one here.
I guess that's true. They probably have a little bit early. So anyway, that was my football adjacent story.
Okay.
If you're watching, we're rooting for you. Go CSU.
Go CSU. Go Snoop Dogg.
Go Snoop. Is Snoop going to be there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. He's
I'd
promoting
imagine.
his whatever stuff.
Where is this streaming on Netflix?
The Gin and Juice by Dre and Snoop is what is happening. Well, that was weird. If you're watching us on YouTube, like the lights just changed in here because it's a motion sensor light, but we have it completely covered and it's never done this, but it just decided to turn on right at the same time the heater kicked off.
Yeah, it's okay. So, we can turn them back off and get our lighting back to what we want.
Yeah, that's you, Alexis.
Alexis, if you could help us out.
So the game's Saturday,
Perfect.
by the way. The game's
Is
on
it streaming on Netflix?
No. You can watch this one on...
Because now I think...
The CW?
The CW?
That's still a TV channel?
What?
Oh, man.
But how can I watch that on streaming?
So I found this out. Our
I
producer,
can't watch it on like Peacock or Paramount.
Yeah, our producer has bunny ears still. And he says, I will never get rid of them because it allows him to watch things like the Arizona Bowl where you and I are like, what do we do?
I don't have bunny. I know you can get it. Like it's a digital antenna.
Right. Yep.
I don't have one.
Yeah.
I was gonna watch this game, but now I don't know if there's any way to do it.
I'll probably try and find a way. But the CW, isn't that the station that's known for like really bad kind of like
DC shows?
Yeah, like some
of them are
all the shows that are geared towards like the upper teens.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what they are known for.
DC TV,
I've heard it's okay.
For many years was much better than the DC movies.
Yeah, but
Jeremiah
now
just invited us all of our listeners over
everybody,
to his place
if you're
to
watching
watch
this
the
right
game
now, email
Saturday.
podcast@dfchurch.com.
We'll shoot you an address.
We'll give you the address. Here's the thing. I didn't mention this yet already. I'm going to say it right now. If you have not done so already, please go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you downloaded this. Give us a 5-star review. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit like, hit subscribe, leave a comment below. Email podcast@dfchurch.com to be a part of the show as well. I skipped that whole spiel today.
You did.
But there it is.
You did.
Don't forget it. Just because I did it at a different spot, you can still leave us a 5-star review. So that's the news. Is it what news was there? Football. That's the only news that happened?
Yeah. I mean, there were a handful of tragic things that happened yesterday.
That's the airline in Kazakhstan.
Yep.
That was the worst one. So, and if you are unaware, in Kazakhstan, a airline came in for a crash landing at the airport, and a large number of the people on board did not make
30-something people.
But a bunch of people survived.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. You can watch footage of them like stumbling off the plane.
Yeah, that's crazy. I saw one, I guess, headline or article for it. I didn't read into it, but airline praises the efforts of the pilot in the crash landing, even though 37 people died.
Well, it could have been all of them.
Right. So, but the article headline made it sound like that person was mad at the airline for saying the pilot saved 100 people,
right,
when 37 still died. I don't know. It was.
I
don't think the airline was praising the fact that the crash landing had to happen. Right. It's the fact that it could have been a lot worse. It's still a tragedy. It's still sad.
And from what it sounds like, it was a result of Russian anti-aircraft guns.
Yeah,
is what it sounded like. That it took some. Yep. Like I don't know if they were probably not the primary target, but maybe there was just an accidental.
Yeah, Phoenix Airport. There's a dispute where 3 people were shot and someone was stabbed.
At the airport?
At the airport.
Wait, how were people having guns at the airport?
Maybe it was before they went through security. Yeah.
But why did they bring them?
I don't know.
Were they thinking they were going to get through security with them?
Or was it just for this confrontation?
Hey, we're going to have this confrontation. Meet at the airport. Like, well, that's the worst place. If you're going to go to shoot somebody,
or do I know,
airport's
or
a
do
bad
I know
place.
You're going to the airport, and so I follow you there?
In a checked bag. I guess you can have a gun in a checked bag if it's properly declared or whatever. But again, if it was in a checked bag, they wouldn't have had it on them to have the shootout. So I don't know. That's a very crazy thing. What was the dispute over?
Physical altercation escalated. Someone produced a gun. Yeah, that's kind of a funny way. Thanks, CBS
they
News.
brought a 3D printer and said, hey, give me an hour. We're going to continue this conversation. And they 3D printed the gun. Because there's nothing that says you can't bring a 3D printer on an airplane, is there?
I don't know.
There
are not a lot of details, at least in this article yet.
That's
woman's
crazy.
Condition was listed as life-threatening. The men were in stable condition. It happened outside a security checkpoint in Terminal 4 at a restaurant there.
Outside the security checkpoint?
Yeah, so they hadn't gone through security
security yet. That makes sense. Size required and no SLA liquid. Well, so you could bring a 3D printer that's like filament, right? You just can't do like the resin like I would use, but you're not going to resin print a gun anyway.
Wouldn't that be the weirdest thing though? You like are sitting in the airport waiting to board a plane and someone just pulls out this giant 3D printer, plugs it in, and starts printing a toy.
That'd be so awesome. Actually, I would really like that.
All right.
All right. All right. So there's lots of violence around Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any positive news in the world, Matt, right now? Or is it just all sad?
I mean, we talked about the positive. Football happened with good ratings.
Yeah, but it was bad games.
Jesus, his birth still happened a couple thousand years ago, so we still get to celebrate it today.
Yeah, nothing changes there.
Yeah. Beyonce performed at one of the halftime shows. I heard nothing about it, but I heard she was performing.
At which one? Was it the Netflix one?
Weren't both games on Netflix?
Was that the only place to watch Christmas Day football? Was Netflix?
Yeah, there were 2 games yesterday. They were both on Netflix. So.
Yes, they have power on the planes, our producer says. So
you
can 3D print while you're...
You got a screaming kid next to you and you just print him a toy and hand it over to him?
Here's the thing. The movement of the plane, I mean, I guess once you're kind of set, but it might...
Some turbulence happens.
Yeah, I would not want to do that. I don't know.
You know, Hanukkah started yesterday on Christmas
last
Day.
night at sundown. Yeah.
So that's kind of cool.
That's
not
cool.
common.
I know. Isn't it normally earlier?
Yeah. It often will overlap, but not begin the same day. So we got our 12 days of Christmas and our 8 crazy nights all starting on the same day.
That's kind of fun.
Yeah. It's exciting.
All right. So go watch Adam Sandler's classic 8 Crazy Nights.
Classic?
No.
I don't know.
But all right, tie it all back together before we move on. Speaking of Adam Sandler and Netflix, they just released a very short preview of Happy Gilmore 2, which is coming to Netflix, showing Adam Sandler and the character of Shooter McGavin.
Leave well enough alone?
Yeah.
Did you know there was
the impact? Our producer said, well, what's the impact as a Christian? Clearly, Happy Gilmore 2 is one of the signs of the apocalypse.
Part of me thinks that he might be asking about Hanukkah starting on the same day as Christmas in that rare occurrence. Is that what he's referring? Or
no, it's about Adam Sandler.
I think he's just wanting us to move on to like, what is the point of our podcast? Oh, the whole faith life thing.
We've hit the life a lot right now. The faith, not as much, but this is it's an interesting thing. In our culture, it's like, well, the stuff that's happening, do we have to have a Christian response to it? How should we? And if the response is just, well, this is it, I don't have anything specifically Christian in how I respond. Should there be? It's kind of a deeper question. Like, should everything in your life be filtered through a lens of Christianity?
Yes.
So, like, when you go to Wendy's, what impact does your
my
order
faith says that I need to be a good steward of my body, so I'm going to highly question whether I should actually go into Wendy's or not.
But then you'll go in anyway.
Probably not.
No, you wouldn't.
Unless I was going with other people hang out. And so In-N-Out. Yep.
Same question. It's
so
just
every time
unhealthy.
I go into In-N-Out, I make sure everyone around me knows. Did you know there's verses printed on the cups?
Okay,
and then we read them,
and then the different things, the Bible verses. Yeah,
yep,
that's true. In-N-Out is good.
But having a biblical worldview, the goal is that we're filtering every choice we make through that worldview. Now, are there things that Scripture doesn't directly speak to? Absolutely, and we talk about that a lot here on this podcast because a lot of things come up in life. Yeah,
football and Netflix. Shooter McGavin.
Everything we do, we get to filter. We should be filtering through that lens. And if it obviously is going to be something that's contrary to Scripture and to that biblical worldview, then the decision we make around that needs to reflect it accordingly.
Now, I think that we've talked about this many a time, but I think sometimes our issue will be we have a cultural more narrow view of what is specifically biblical or not, and then we can impose that beyond what the Bible actually does. Because like you said, there's a lot the Bible doesn't address. And I think that ambiguity and that freedom is very difficult for a lot of people. And so it's a lot easier to add in, here's, the Bible doesn't say about this, so I'm going to say, here's what it should have said, essentially, and hold you as a Christian to that standard. Like, you can go with like the very obvious ones, like dancing. Baptists way back in the day said, oh, it's a sin to dance. And if you're dancing, that's wrong. But it's like, well, that's not in the Bible. Right. So where does that justification come from? I don't know, but it's there. And a lot of people still feel that way.
Dancing is in the Bible.
It's true.
When David danced unashamedly before the Lord.
Now, in the movie, at least in the Broadway musical adaptation of Footloose, when the Kevin Bacon character is trying to make his argument on why dancing should be fine, that's the example he uses.
And it's true.
It's true.
Here's the encouraging part of that. The dancing
that was prescriptive, not descriptive.
Part, I know, but it's encouraging to me. No, wait, it's descriptive, not prescriptive.
I know.
The encouraging part is my dancing, if I cared enough about other people's opinion, would bring great shame upon me and my family. So it's encouraging to know that I can just freely move without rhythm before the Lord.
That's
without
awesome.
shame, yeah. Because otherwise, I'm not a great dancer.
Speaking of David. In February, I'll put a little plug in for this real quick. In February on Amazon Prime, they are launching a new show called House of David. And it is in partnership with Amazon. They're partially funding it. Basically, the realization was from a few major studios that if you make a good Christian movie or content or show, that you can actually have a pretty good audience for it. And maybe let's put a little bit of budget behind it.
Was The Chosen what
I think The Chosen is
hey, people will actually watch this.
And then I think Jesus Revolution was helpful. I think even recently, like this obviously is too recent to have impacted what I'm talking about right now. But the best Christmas pageant ever did very well in theaters. It did like $40 million on a $10 million budget. Like that's a good return on investment. So
both those latter two movies you mentioned, Jesus Revolution and Best Christmas Pageant Ever, I wouldn't say those were spectacularly
they
produced.
Weren't.
They were
but
both okay.
They were much better than most Christian movies.
I did like Jesus Revolution, but I think it felt production value wise less than if it wasn't a Christian film. Now you did have Frasier in there, so that's
what I was gonna say. You actually, so that's like you have real actors.
Kevin Sorbo.
Kevin Sorbo. So Jesus Revolution did $52 million in box office, and I don't know what its budget was, but I'm sure it wasn't a fraction of that. So there's more effort being put into them.
So what?
So
not like so what? What is so Jesus Revolution? I didn't watch that in theaters. I watched that on streaming, and I know a lot of other people that did.
And
how is streaming factored into whether or not our film was a success?
That's a great question. So they have their own ways of metrics of like how many views did it get type thing. Because that's not like they're getting that. And I mean, they might even have like did we see an increase in subscribers? Or
here's the reason I ask, because as a Christian, we're going to tie this into faith life here. This is good. As a Christian, I want more content that is going to have value and worth and uphold some of the moral values that I live by. Right? There's a lot of content that exists. It's really well done. That is just trash as far as the actual substance that you're getting from it. But it's produced really well and it has a really high budget. So I asked this question because am I doing a disservice to the studios and to other studios wanting to pick up some of these types of films if I stream it?
I think that
I pay for streaming services. So like there is something there.
So I think that they have factored in you watching it as something positive.
Okay.
So, all right. So Jesus Revolution, again, $15 million budget, made 54 worldwide.
Okay.
That's a great return for them. And not to mention, so the streaming part of it, some places have royalties now built in where it's like per stream, they're getting something back or things like that. So, all this to say in February now, House of David is what this is called, is coming to Amazon Prime. And their aim is, in their words, to give it a Game of Thrones style treatment in terms of budget, scope, and excitedness of the biblical story of David. But this is made by a Christian production company.
Right. I feel like they should be careful using that in any sort of marketing because, we gave the David story the Game of Thrones style treatment. I'm not going to watch it.
Once you get to the Bathsheba section, it gets a little dicey. Oh, no. So all of that to say is that's coming in February. There's opportunities, I think, here at the church that we might be able to do a pre-release screening. I've actually gotten a chance to watch most of the first episode. It's really pretty good so far. Awesome. It's fun. It's a little violent, not like R-rated levels of violence, but it's definitely like a PG-13.
Yeah, I do not laugh. I do. What's a nice word? It's interesting when parents are like, well, why can't we just have Bible-based content?
Right.
And I'm like, be careful because there's a lot of content in the Bible that if we were to truly make a film of the actual content,
it's going to be pretty.
You're not letting your kids watch that. I mean, you think of The Passion of the Christ.
Yep.
That was an R-rated film, not because it took great liberties, but because it depicted the content of Scripture pretty well.
Right.
And so, we do have to be careful. Jeremiah mentioned Reb 1, and I was going to mention that too. I had read an article, an interview with like a marketing guru in the film industry who said they don't care about, Reb 1 does not care about how many people are going to watch it in theaters. They're using the theatrical release to promote streaming. And it ended up being like the most streamed release of like all time for that studio or Netflix or whatever it was. No, it's on Prime.
It's on Prime.
Yeah.
So,
where they're using a theatrical release to actually promote streaming.
I know.
And that was their goal.
A friend of mine, I was asking him how his Christmas was. He's like, oh, yeah, we all just watched Red One and blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, well, there it is.
Yeah. How was Christmas? We watched Red One.
Yeah, exactly. That's what he basically said that. It did 181 worldwide, so 95 domestic, 86 international, which isn't great for a theatrical, a big budget. Like it probably cost more than that to make that movie. And this gets back then to the question of like, how does Amazon, how do they determine it's a success? Because that's who made it. It was made by Amazon.
Right.
So they don't have to pay any rights to get it onto Prime because it was already their content.
Theirs. Okay.
Is this that's just a fascinating thing. If we could ever get an Amazon executive to be a guest on our podcast. Right. Because like, are they looking at, did people sign up? Because who does, like a lot of people already have Prime. So I don't know if you can judge it by, well, we got new subscribers for it. Was it about subscriber retention?
Right. And they also have the ability, if I'm not a Prime subscriber, to just rent that film through Prime.
Right.
So I'm sure they have that in their numbers too. All that to say, like I asked it because as someone who wants to support.
Right.
I want to support good content. I don't want to support like cheesy Christian content.
I don't want to support something just because it's a Christian movie. Yeah. And I think for a while, that's what they were counting on.
But I will happily throw a few bucks at something that is of a higher quality production value.
Right.
As far as the Christian genre goes, but is also the higher quality, just moral value content wise.
Right.
Like the best Christmas pageant ever. Right. I probably would not have chosen to watch that on my own.
Right.
But I'm willing to pay the $9 that we paid for as a group to go watch it together to support, because it was decently made. Yeah,
I enjoyed it.
It did not feel like a cheesy Christian film.
Right.
Which I hate that cheesy and Christian often go hand in hand.
As Christians, we should be making the best art,
the most creative,
by with really well. And it comes back to actually, and I know this wasn't what we were planning on talking about today, but it's interesting. It comes back to this idea that you had, is that Christians want Christian content, but they don't want anything that's actually the complete, like, emotional and content wise package of everything that Christianity can entangle. They want it nice and safe and neat. And if there's anything that's like scary or violent or something, it's like, well, wait a minute. That's not what I wanted it to be too like wholesome.
Right.
It's like
what? Yeah.
sanitized. That's a good word for it.
Yep. I want us to actually reflect the image of our creator, right? The one who created everything we see.
Right.
Like think of all the creativity in nature, in animals, in just the landscape of our world and how the human bodies function and operate so perfectly. Like we're created in his image. As Christians, we should be on the forefront of creativity. But instead, we've gone back to this idea of let's just give them our leftovers, right? Because people are going to pay for it anyway because we're putting the Christian label on it.
Right.
Like, let's stop giving Jesus our leftovers. Lex mentioned Jesus is one that's worthy of our best. So let's get back to the best in music, the best in film, the best in television, the best in literature. The best should be given to Jesus by us. And yet we like to just be like, he's fine on his own. We can just give him some of our leftovers.
Yep.
I don't like it.
I agree. All right. So real quick, let's segue into, I want to look back over the year as we draw 2024 to a close. On the podcast, here's the funny thing to think about. Last January, we went through the Habit series that you preached.
Yeah.
We broke down each episode into a...
We broke down.
we started to. And so that was kind of a fun way to start the year.
Yeah.
And then, here's what I really liked. Early on in the year, March, we had our first guest of the year, which was Greg Steer. And we talked about dare to share and how to share the gospel with people. That was really fun. Then we did all sorts of stuff. We did Can Christians Own Guns? We did updates from this discipleship conference. We did Noah's Ark. Did that really happen? Well, listen to that episode that we were hearing in the room. Our producer like, well, yes. Well, listen to the episode. What do we mean by it? What does it look like? How did it happen? What did it look like? Then the Olympics controversy was a big one. Oh, yeah. Do you remember how long this year has been? We think back, that was just the summer, right?
It's been a year.
And we were talking about the opening ceremony specifically. And then the whole thing with the boxer came up as a secondary issue. There
was like politics that happened. We talked a lot about politics because apparently there's a presidential election this year.
We did talk a lot about politics. We talked about climate change. We reacted to some funny videos like the one about Christians are sinless.
Oh, yeah.
We had another really awesome guest with Mike Lacona, biblical scholar. That was the most fascinating episode in a lot of ways, hitting some of this. How do we read the Bible? How do we interpret? What does inerrancy mean? Like some really deep issues on that one that we kind of worked around, and that was really fun. I actually like that one a lot. Anything in the podcast like jump out, Matt, at you of like, this was awesome or really good, or I would never want to have something like that happen again?
Every episode we do is really awesome and really good, and you should share it with your friends.
I agree.
Was that a little much?
The other thing that we've done over the year is we've had the reading the Bible in a year. Now, that's almost done. That's going to be ending soon. Are we starting a new one next year?
That's the question. Because you didn't really even participate in it after the first day.
After the first day, I participated in it quite a lot. At a certain point, I fell off of it too. Yeah. And I, with the discipleship group we were doing, there was enough other Bible reading that I was still reading my Bible daily, but it was just outside of the app. Yeah. I think that it's an interesting thing of like, did people stick with it? I know a few people who did, who are still commenting daily, so sometimes 2 or 3 times a day. The question will be, is it something that we should continue next year, especially having it as a segment in our podcast where we talk about what we're reading. So let us know, podcast@dfchurch.com. You can email us, let us know one way or another. Did you like that? Did you participate in that? Would you, if you had an opportunity to start at the beginning with us, participate in that? Mm-hmm. And we'll see how that looks. Maybe we'll have it out for everybody again.
We did one late spring, maybe early summer, somewhere like probably late spring, where we kind of addressed the idea of not just showing up to church on Sunday morning and then leaving, but actually being involved in body life and what that looks like.
Yeah. I think that was in May. We had an episode that says, don't go to church.
Don't go to church. Yep.
I think that's really good. And I think this next year, as we look forward, it's like, what do we, no matter where you're going to church, and hopefully you're watching this, you're not, even if you're not a part of Discovery Fellowship, you're a part of a church somewhere, and you're looking at how can I move to look more like Jesus by the end of the year than I did at the beginning. I mean, I think that's really the biggest metric we have. It's not how much of the Bible did I read, how many sermons did I listen to, how many Bible studies did I go to, how did I, what was my attendance record at church? Did I have enough, absences or, minimize that? Did I become more like Jesus? Am I becoming a better disciple of Jesus? And am I passing that on to somebody else? Am I making other disciples as well? I think those are the two biggest things. And, if we think about this time of year, we're thinking about New Year's resolutions, and there's always people make so many resolutions and they fall off so fast. And it's like, so on the one hand, I don't want to say make this your resolution, because if that has everything else that comes with it of like, well, what's my resolution? Which means I'm going to try it for a week and then stop.
Right.
I'm not telling you to do that, obviously. But if you were looking ahead, not as a New Year's resolution, but essentially a New Year's resolution of, all right, next year, there's something mental about that's absolutely mental. There's something in this like kind of a mental approach of saying a new year gives us a new beginning,
right?
Even though nothing's changed, right? Between December 31st and January 1st, nothing's really different.
Right.
So, and I think that's probably why New Year's resolutions fail, is because we expect something to be different because it's the new year, but really we're the same person. So if we didn't do it now, why are we going to do it then? But I think there can be some use in saying, look, we're going to hit this head on. It's almost like in our mind, we're starting fresh. So start fresh with that. Start fresh with, how am I being discipled and making disciples? And if you're not, you can email us at podcast@dfchurch.com, and we can try to help you find the resources you need, because we can't disciple you through a podcast, but we can help you find those resources to get discipled the way you need.
Yeah. You reminded me of something else, kind of sad, actually, when you're talking about the New Year thing.
Love it.
The most common day, so this maybe can be an encouragement for married people listening. The most common day for divorces to be filed is the first Monday after New Year's.
Wait, how is that encouraging?
No.
You just said take the encouragement.
You got hold up a second. Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna say, this is not encouraging so far.
And the reason is, I believe, is because it's just, all right, let's get through the holidays. Let's just kind of, right. And then you kind of realize, some couples do that, we've just been faking it and they haven't been putting in the effort and the work. And it's like, well, let's just get through the holidays and it'll be fine. All right. We just have to get through the stressful time. And then it's still not better the 2 weeks or week after Christmas. Right. And then so a lot of people file for divorce that day. So the encouragement is, you have to put in the work and effort, right? Like, marriage isn't, and we talked about this with the Resist the Drift conference, and we kind of talked a little bit about that on the podcast, recapping some of that, but it's a lot of work, right? And so put in the effort, and don't wait until like the first Monday after New Year's to start thinking through this. Today, put in the effort, right? To serve and love and lead each other towards Christ, right? Keeping him at the center of your marriage and your relationship, so that come that first Monday after New Year's Day, I think it's like the 6th this year or something.
Sure.
Is that Monday?
Sure.
You're not even thinking about it.
Yeah.
Right? It's not even an option for you, because you're so committed, right? Like, and it's kind of that whole New Year's resolution thing. you commit each day. Today I'm going to love and I'm going to serve.
Serve your spouse. Yeah. Don't serve them divorce papers.
Ooh. Yeah. Yeah. It's a different kind of you got served, right? Yeah. Oh, that's harsh.
Is that movie's about? People getting served court documents?
I think so.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I thought your encouragement was going to be, if you make it till that Monday and you didn't get them, you're on the right track.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, get past that Monday, wake up the next Tuesday and you'll be fine. Yeah. All those thoughts and feelings go away.
Oh my goodness.
No, because sometimes our thoughts and our feelings deceive us. Like we're sinful, we're fleshly.
Yeah.
Right. And so we have to take those captive.
Yeah.
And everything we do, as we're encouraged in Scripture, is we have to work at it hard, right?
Yeah.
Like incredibly hard with all of your heart. Scripture says in Colossians, as if unto the Lord.
The Lord, sure.
That includes your marriage. That includes your job. Yeah. That includes the choices you're making. Yeah. That includes the podcast you're listening to, which is why you should listen to this one.
Amen.
I'm just going to keep plugging that.
Yeah. What? You're plugging it to the people who have made it an hour in already.
That includes the people. Hold up. That includes the people you share the podcast with.
Right. So if you're still with us right now, I want you to pause the episode, send it to somebody, the YouTube link, the link to the podcast directly on Spotify, Apple. Send it to somebody who needs to hear it.
Here's a good encouragement then with that.
Yeah.
What was your favorite episode from 2024? Send that to a friend. Right?
There you go.
Send that one. Because this one might be a little bit weird. We're recapping. We're
don't send this one necessarily.
More family.
You can send the one that says, I'm going to tell you which one to send right now. The one about conspiracy theories. I'm just kidding. I don't know. Maybe.
We did a fun Would You Rather. Do you remember that? And then we got some people who yelled at us for not knowing the Bible.
A Christian.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because of it.
Yeah. We're like,
we got really
it. It was a fun Would
one.
You Rather. It's okay to laugh. And we also did one, I think, this year of Can Christians Have Fun?
We did. Yeah. That was called.
See, we did a lot of good ones this year, you guys.
Should church be fun? If you're looking back, that's episode like 91, I think. If my little
How many episodes did we do this year?
Well, we started on episode 70.
I mean, shouldn't it be 52? We do one a week, but we missed.
But we had a couple missed, and we had a couple replays. Okay. We ended on 115.
Okay.
So what's 115 minus 70?
45.
So
that's pretty good.
42 out of 45 out of 52.
Yes, 45.
45 out of 52 episodes. That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Next year we got to go 52 for 52. Let's do it. No weeks off. Hashtag no weeks off. Even if it's the pre-recorded by myself, I will just sit here and talk at you for an hour.
Talk at you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I can't talk with them if
Jeremiah
they're watching.
did the math for us. 86% of the weeks we had a new episode. That's a solid B.
Yeah, see, I want an A+. New Year's resolution, 52 out of 52.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to do replays. I want us to. Now, my other goal is going to be have a lot more guests on next year. And so if there's anybody you would like us to invite as a guest on the episode, email podcast@dfchurch.com. And speaking of emailing, podcast@dfchurch.com, let's go real quickly as we wrap up the year with any emails we got. We did get one that says, I don't know if you asked for an email from listeners this week.
We always want email.
We always want email.
Yeah.
Christmas isn't Christmas without Christmas dip.
Oh, my goodness.
1 block of Velveeta, 1 pound of ground beef, 1 jar of salsa, and 1 can of chilies. Nothing special, but served every year I can remember. Now, here's the thing. I am 87% with you on this because I would sub out the ground beef to some sort of like Italian sausage specifically, but everything else, yes, that is
like a Christmas tradition.
Not even Christmas. That is going over to my parents' house. They make that often. You get a big bag of tortilla chips. That is the best.
Hear me out.
Okay.
What if we do some fresh homemade salsa? First of all,
so
not just a jar of salsa. Nope, I'm going to continue.
Okay. Keep going.
Green Hatch chilies from here, local in Colorado.
Okay.
I'm down with the Italian sausage part.
Okay.
I cannot stand Velveeta. So can we do
so
like
good.
our own fresh blend of fresh grated like Gouda and a nice sharp cheddar?
It's not going to have that kind of melty. It's gonna,
you can make it melty.
It's harder. It's a lot harder to get it. You
But
need you need
like a fondue like locker room floor.
No, it does not.
And I know what that tastes like.
That's weird. No. Okay, so here's the thing. I'm gonna have one other slight adjustment.
Okay.
1 jar of salsa specifically for me.
Yeah.
It's Rotel, a can of Rotel.
Rotel specifically.
That's
and
specific.
you use the Rotel chilies, that little can of that brand also.
Yep.
So it sounds like this is just a tradition that he has at Christmas every year.
Yeah.
We had a gross one growing up at Grandma's house. She would put just salsa over cream cheese, just a block of cream cheese and a jar of just whatever cheap salsa she would have, and I would eat it, and it was fine. The memories.
Now I want to make that Velveeta dip.
Here's my question. And
I've not had it in a while.
I just opened up the email, so I know who it's from, and he's in the room right now.
Yep.
Did this happen at like parents' or grandparents' house to start? That's where tradition started. Grandma, parent. Okay. Yeah, it's funny how there's some things that like, I remember as a kid going to grandma's house or at parents' house when we had all the family over. Yep. This was what we had, and it wasn't necessarily meant to be gourmet. It was meant to be quick, easy, and feed a lot of people.
Yep.
And
that's what this does.
Yep. A block of Velveeta, pound of ground beef. It's quick and easy.
I'm seriously going to maybe pick some of this stuff up and make it.
Well, bring it into the office next time we're all in here together.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe we will. We also, in this
You bring your Velveeta. I'll do. No, I'm not going to do a fresh Gouda one. But it's going to be more Gouda than Velveeta.
Like, there's an episode of Parks and Rec where they get rid of hamburgers at the government building, and Ron says, let's have a hamburger thing where the Chris Traeger, the health guy, is going to make this turkey burger. And he's like, this is my custom turkey burger with this aioli. And like, it's just really fancy. And then Ron is like, I bought this at the gas station. It's beef. Here's a burger. There's ketchup if you need it. And everyone's like, oh, that's so much better than when they eat the actual hamburger. It's like so like low quality, but it's so much better than a turkey burger.
Speaking of so much better, I'm going to be having In-N-Out for lunch today.
That is really good.
The email had one more thing that I actually thought about earlier, so I'm glad we're bringing this up.
Yeah, he says, also wondering if you intentionally dropped the AI segment or have just run out of time lately. It's neither and both. Not both. It's neither in that we have sometimes run out of time when I wanted to do it. I've also not intentionally dropped it. I just haven't had good things to ask it necessarily. Okay. And I don't want it to get too stale. Now, I did ask it for the top 10 craziest things that happened in 2024.
Okay.
It just made them all up. I was very sad. So here's the top 10. And it says very unofficial, unbelievably real moments, it says.
What?
And then it says some absolutely totally happened in our imagination, at least.
Why is the AI so
really
dumb?
fast, I'm going to give you these 10 and tell me if you remember these happening this year.
Yeah.
All right, number 10, the Great Squirrel Census. The year kicked off with an unusual civic endeavor. Thousands of volunteers hitting their local parks to count every squirrel. Unfortunately, the tally was inconclusive after the squirrels caught wind of the operation and staged a mass relocation. Experts suspect they're plotting something bigger for 2025.
The squirrels are?
I guess.
Well, no, here's what's interesting.
Okay.
Recent news articles are talking about predatory habits of squirrels, the ground squirrels in California. And they're like starting to hunt and kill small rodents, like smaller than them. Which is kind of cool. So
okay,
so there's something
going on
here. All right.
Number 9,
like
the banana phone frenzy. No, not the children's song, an actual wave of tech chic banana phones. What children's song?
Banana phone song.
That suddenly became the hottest accessory. Inspired by retro landlines, these phones were shaped like bananas and came in peelable cases. After numerous fruit-bruising hardware issues, the trend ended just as quickly as it started.
Okay, real news from 2024, the banana duct taped to a wall that sold for millions of dollars. See, so this is loosely in...
Okay, number 8, flying saucer food trucks.
Flying saucer food trucks. Okay, this is about the... all the drones that we've been having.
Took to the skies in 2024, pivoting to drone-powered disc-shaped saucers.
Because some said that they were the size of buses.
Determined to reduce road traffic, vendors delighted crowds by dropping tacos and waffles from overhead. The real confusion set in when the UFO enthusiasts mistook them for alien craft and tried to stage a first contact meeting with a burrito.
If a drone was flying above overhead and just dropping some delicious street tacos on me, I'm not going to complain. Alexis just asked, what if they have Velveeta?
Yes.
Here's the thing. True street tacos would not use Velveeta, so they wouldn't. If they did, then you know it's from the aliens.
All right, number 7, the meteor that winked.
I'm sorry, what?
Astronomers were stunned when a meteor captured on countless amateur telescopes seemed to wink, sparkle, glitch. The internet went bananas with conspiracy theories, extraterrestrial emojis, cosmic nudge from Mars, or just a dusty lens. NASA has no comment, which obviously confirms everything.
I mean, to be fair, there were a lot of meteor showers in 2024. I felt like more this year than previous years. So, I mean, again, loosely rooted in the truth.
Okay.
This is how Satan works, you guys. It's official. AI.
Number 6, self-knitting sweaters.
Oh, what do I have for that in the real news from this year? Keep
Holiday
going.
seasons advanced to the next level, and a major clothing brand released self-knitting sweaters designed with micro-robotic needles. These sweaters promise to repair themselves or unravel themselves in some cases. Let's just say it's awkward when your brand new sweater spontaneously decides to re-knit into a pair of socks.
I'm sorry, what? I don't know.
Oh, this is great. Number 5.
If I have something for that one.
Okay, what? What do you have?
I don't know if I have anything.
Oh,
for
you
that
don't
one.
know.
Like,
I
I
thought you
can't
said
think
you
of
did.
any news that
Okay,
could be
number
loosely
5.
based on.
I'm all about. I wish these were real. Number 5, Bigfoot starts a podcast. After years of seeking the spotlight, the elusive Sasquatch reemerged, this time for a podcast. Yeah. Bigfoot's Forest Chat became a runaway hit, featuring spirited discussions on forest conservation, how to be more than just a blurry photo, and of course, beard maintenance. Critics called it inspirational and shockingly well-produced for a woodland creature.
So we talked about this a few weeks ago or a few months ago in the news about the AI podcast where it was 2 AI hosts that then realized they had that self-discovery that they weren't real. They were actually AI, and they had it was weird. So that's where that one came from.
Number 4, a Broadway musical about donuts.
Oh,
Talk about
with a question mark?
Yeah. Talk about sweet tunes. The Broadway sensation Glazed took center stage. It followed the tale of a humble donut's life on the bakery shelf, complete with tap dancing sprinkles, heart-wrenching duets about pastry existentialism, and a rousing finale at the coffee station. Critics raved, a frosted triumph.
There was Shucked, the Broadway musical about corn.
Yep, there was.
Did that come out this year? In 2024?
No, because I feel like it was last Macy's Day Parade. We saw a song from it.
Oh, you're right.
Right?
Yeah.
All right, number 3. We're in the top 3 of AI's version of the most interesting things that happened this year. Lawn flamingos on the march. In a puzzling show of backyard rebellion, plastic lawn flamingos nationwide mysteriously moved en masse, always found a few feet from where people left them. Some folks woke up to entire flocks forming pink protest lines in front of local lawn ornament stores. The phenomenon remains unsolved, and top scientists suspect a glitch in the matrix.
I have nothing for that one.
Number 2.
So disappointed right now.
Celebrity pet president, almost. When a popular influencer's corgi garnered more votes than several real political hopefuls, don't ask how, the online petition was unstoppable, the nation had a near crisis on its hands. We very nearly had the first 4-legged commander-in-chief. The dog's platform? Mandatory daily belly rubs, increased bone supply, and of course, universal walk breaks.
I mean, that one makes sense because of how divided
we are.
Yeah, well, just how divided this election was. And I think a lot of people were in the camp of, I really don't want either option. So give me someone's corgi.
All right. I like it. And then number 1, the cloud that became a global meme. And the ultimate crazy but true highlight of 2024. A perfectly shaped cloud, depending on who you asked, it looked like either a dinosaur or a rubber duck, was photographed by passerbys in multiple countries on the same day. The image exploded online, sparking an international debate about cosmic messages, the best dinosaur-duck hybrid name, and whether or not the universe really is just having one giant laugh at our expense.
I kind of like that part.
And then it gives us a couple honorable mentions.
Okay.
Honorable mention, the week when everyone on Earth accidentally matched outfits. Coincidence.
I think
The short-lived sandwich that combined pineapple and pickles. No one wants to talk about it. And then finally, the global handshake day that turned into a surprise Guinness World Record attempt for most awkward greetings. Here's to another wild year of wild surprises and questionable trends. If 2024 taught us anything, it's that absolutely anything can happen next.
Love it.
So yeah, this is why we haven't asked the AI anything for a while. It's gotten loopy.
He got a little crazy.
It's lost itself. Yep. But that is all the time we have for today. All the time we have for this year.
We're out of time this year, you guys.
2024, we are officially closing the chapter on it, moving on into 2025 when hopefully we don't have to talk about politics as much, although I'm sure every week there's going to be a new Trump did something.
Well, yeah, and we'll see how the whole inauguration stuff goes. That's coming up pretty soon.
I did watch a video where somebody was complaining that Trump hadn't done. They're like, we had the election a month ago and he has not done anything yet. All I keep hearing about is Biden still. And why is Biden still doing anything? Because Trump won. I was like, oh my goodness. Are you...
Tell me you shouldn't vote without telling me you shouldn't vote.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Matthew.
World War III, 2025.
You know what? If World War III starts, we'll be here podcasting about it.
All the way through.
Hopefully not sent to the front lines.
I mean, we're kind of in the basement here.
Can we, if World War III starts, what are the odds that we get conscripted into it?
Are we too old?
We're probably too old, right?
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Like I am old and broken.
No,
if called upon, I will do my best, but I don't think I'd be called upon and be like, is there literally anyone else? Anyone? Please.
They could send. Mike. Depends on what it starts. You've got a kid who's old enough.
I do have a kid who's old enough.
Drafted.
Yep.
Could you say take me in his place? Yeah, like Hunger Games style.
Reverse Mulan.
Reverse Mulan.
Yeah, because the dad was supposed to go, but the daughter snuck in and took his place. And
so then the son has to go. The mother has to go in.
Melinda, you're going to war.
It even sounds like Mulanda.
Mulanda. All right, that's enough of us.
That's enough of us. We hope you have a great end of your year. Be safe. Be thinking about how you're going to make 2025 the best year ever. It's a nice round number, like 25. Like, it's like that a quarter of a century. We're going to make it happen. And with all that, we will see you next year.
Bye, guys.